Let's get right into it. Number 12. The obedience trap. You sit there, in a dull room, trying to look responsible. Suddenly, someone in a white coat asks you to push a button. That button delivers a small shock to another person, just enough to sting. It starts off slight, almost nothing. Yet it comes from your hand. The request seems harmless at first glance. Still, it carries weight. Someone else feels what you activate. Your finger holds a tiny power. Quietly, tension builds. Every click shifts something inside. Not dramatic, just slow. One action links two people through wires and silence. Screaming fills the room regardless. Without hurry, the figure in white tells you to keep going. That moment, your mind drops the right thing to do like a bad pass. This shocking test came from Milgram, revealing something hard to face. What feels morally firm can bend without warning. Believing they caused harm, volunteers kept going despite rising tension. Recorded cries played, yet those behind the wires truly thought lives were at stake. Some froze, questioned, trembled, still their hands moved forward. Each time urged by a calm voice holding paper. Obedience ran deeper than fear. Your mind leans on figures of power without noticing. It sees a title, a uniform, maybe a confident voice. Suddenly decisions feel lighter. Someone in charge speaks, and the weight shifts elsewhere. You stop asking why because it seems handled. Obedience slips in quietly, dressed as cooperation. Actions grow harsh while self-image stays clean. Harm happens not through rage but quiet agreement. What made it wrong wasn't only lying. The real damage showed up in people falling apart, hearts racing, minds shattered, believing they'd hurt another human being badly, maybe even cause death. Scientists took notes like it meant nothing more than numbers on a page. Help after? Never planned for that. Here's the hard truth. Authority tugs at your sense of right like a silent current. Slip on a white coat, speak without pause, and watch conscience shrink into silence. That brave voice inside? It folds its hands, waits, barely breathing. Number 11. The prison that wasn't a prison. Wearing one kind of uniform doesn't mean much at first. Another person wears another, simple enough. Just that. Nothing more than those two facts. Yet, by the third day, chaos takes hold without warning. A classroom became a cage when minds played pretend. College kids slipped on labels. Some watched, some were trapped. A basement held the scene, not a courthouse. 0 charges filed. Not one day behind bars for real. Roles shaped every move. Power landed in certain hands. The rest got empty palms. Soon, kindness dried up faster than rain on hot concrete. Humiliation took new forms each day. Staying awake became a punishment of its own. Rules changed without warning. Minds began to fray under pressure. Some sobbed quietly in corners. Others trembled nonstop. A few seemed far away, like they weren't really there. One man left before time. He could not hold on anymore. Watching everything unfold, the scientists kept going, caught up in what they thought was progress. They thought it would run for 2 weeks. 6 days passed before it fell apart. Here's what shakes you. It wasn't evil minds behind cruelty. Regular kids, polite, grade-chasing ones, jumped in without hesitation. Something shifted when control changed hands. Hidden faces made motion easier. Responsibility? It just walked out the door. This test revealed something surprising. Who you are isn't nearly as fixed as it feels. Swap the setting, hand out a symbol like a badge, take away any real fallout, then watch actions emerge that shock even you. The truth? That inner identity bends more easily than anyone admits. Number 10. The Untreated Lie. Picture this. A voice says you get healthcare at no cost. Checkups every few weeks. Smiling faces in white coats who call you by name. For once, someone seems to care how you feel each morning. But here's what hides behind the smile. Every word is false. What they let grow inside you could be stopped fast. Yet stopping it isn't part of their plan. Not now. Not ever. For 40 years, a U.S. health project tracked African American men with syphilis without giving them medicine. This went on long after cures existed. Officials said they were studying how illness unfolds when left alone, meaning they watched symptoms worsen by design. Lies shaped the study from the start. Permission never came, not really. Death showed up more than once. Infections spread beyond test subjects. Babies arrived already sick. Numbers justified everything back then. That move crossed a line, not only morally but in how it stripped away humanity. Viewing others as mere factors shifts something deep inside. Suddenly, caring gets in the way. Without care, harshness begins to seem like the simpler path. What truly shocks? A single study lasting 4 decades. For 0 years. Not an error. Just a pattern choosing data while ignoring suffering, then naming it advancement. Number 9. The Baby Fear Factory. Picture yourself as a tiny monkey. Staying alive means holding on tight. Your mother is everything. Evolution made it simple. Stay close or fall out. Think of researchers removing her suddenly. In her place, a metal shape gives milk. You get food, sure, but no warmth comes from it. No soft sounds when you whimper. Just wires. Still, sharp-edged, unblinking. Comfort mattered most. That is what came through loud and clear from Harry Harlow's work on attachment. His tests looked at whether young monkeys connected more to nourishment or warmth. Surprisingly, they ran straight to the cuddly fabric mother every time. Even if she gave nothing to eat. The cold metal mom held milk. Still, they left her behind. Softness won out. Not sustenance. Touch beat feeding. Warmth pulled harder than hunger ever did. Yet the testing went further, driven by a strange obsession with suffering. Monkeys lived alone, cut off from touch or interaction. Silence replaced chatter. Emptiness took over where warmth should have been. What emerged shocked even those who watched. Anxiety twisted their movements. Depression dulled their eyes. Bonds between others felt foreign, unreachable. Self-harm appeared in quiet corners. Rage burst out without warning. Others simply vanished inside themselves, gone but breathing. Sure, they were animals, yet the real target was human behavior. What made it wrong wasn't just the act itself, it was how easily lasting harm was caused. All of that simply confirmed what caregivers often feel without being told. Connection matters more than people admit. Here's what sits heavy: cut off closeness, and independence isn't what shows up, fragility does. Affection isn't some add-on comfort. It runs beneath everything like code under a screen. Number 8. The Learned Helplessness Trap. Imagine being stuck where every attempt changes nothing. Effort follows effort, yet outcomes stay fixed. Each failure piles up, heavier than before. After enough tries, action fades into stillness. It's not unwillingness holding you back. It's the quiet conclusion that trying does not matter. What happens when pain keeps coming, no matter what you do? Scientists found out by testing creatures in ways that sound more like cruelty than study. One shock after another, with zero chance to get away, it happened again and again. The worst part came later. Chances appeared to flee, yet the animals stayed put. Movement would have stopped the hurt, but they did nothing. Just waited, still broken inside. When effort feels pointless, your mind cuts back. It stops pushing because trying without results hurts too much. This shield against letdown can turn heavy, slow, dark. Slowly, hope drains while doubt takes root. Action fades when every move seems useless. The very system meant to guard you starts holding you down. What made it wrong wasn't understanding people, it was how they went about it. Not everyone bounced back after what happened. For some, things stayed broken long afterward. All of that just to see someone lose hope slowly. Here is what happened. Scientists learned minds could be pushed to quit. Then they discovered those same minds might unlearn quitting. Only after testing limits did that truth emerge. Number 7. The Shocked Child. Picture this. A kid. Tiny space. Someone says mom and dad could leave any second now. It isn't punishment. Just an experiment. Some outsider curious about fear. How deep it runs when you're young. A child's voice, once smooth, began to tremble after being called broken by grown-ups who knew better. One group heard kind words, saw confidence grow. The other faced relentless blame for flaws that weren't there. Words like terrible and wrong shaped fear where fluency lived just days earlier. Years later, silence lingered, not from nature but from choices made behind a lab door. Harm dressed as science left wounds far beyond speech. A kid's mind soaks up words like water. Beliefs planted early take root without question. If someone in charge keeps saying a child is flawed, that idea sticks deep. The brain slowly bends to fit what it hears most. This test showed just how strong words and beliefs can be, yet left deep wounds on children who didn't agree to any of it. Knowledge moved forward. Young lives got caught in the path. Your mind tends to trust instructions, particularly if you are young and the speaker seems sure of themselves. Number 6. The hospital that watched you die. Picture arriving at a hospital only to hear, "Relax, we're simply watching." Not a single procedure offered. Nothing done. Instead, a notebook appears, time ticks on a dial, eyes stay fixed, curious about how things unfold. It made sense back then, seen in studies where people with severe mental health issues or dying illnesses were left alone on purpose. These individuals came into care, got watched closely, written about in notes, yet still let decline, often all the way to passing, since stepping in might mess up what researchers hope to learn. What happens inside the mind feels oddly basic. Over time, repeated exposure makes distress fade into background noise. It no longer sparks reaction. Scientists looked at graphs instead of faces. Signs of trouble replaced cries for help. Turn agony into data points, and compassion slips away unnoticed. It's not only the lack of action that crosses a line, what follows hits harder. Your mind links hospitals with being safe. This belief softens your guard without warning. Trust grows there naturally. Yet someone slipped through that opening without a sound. A sour truth hides here. What feels safe, watching, waiting, can do harm. Not every risk wears a lab coat. Quiet looking, done wrong, breaks trust just like testing. The real danger? Assuming doing nothing keeps things clean. Number 5. The brain surgery guessing game. Fresh out of brain surgery, you open your eyes to find the surgeons admitted they didn't quite know where to slice. Not really. Just an idea floated earlier that morning. One backed by little more than confidence and a scalpel too clean to doubt. Back then, brain surgeries like lobotomies weren't careful fixes, they felt more like dangerous bets. People diagnosed with sadness, worry, or simply labeled troublesome had operations that changed who they were forever. A few grew quieter afterward. Many turned hollow, like children stuck in stillness. Feeling almost nothing at all. Wobbling stood the science. Ethics? Nowhere to be found. For women, locked up patients, or folks tagged as troublesome, permission slipped through cracks, more like an afterthought than a rule. What a quiet kind of loss. Your mind never raises its voice. When pieces of who you are begin to fade, there's no alarm. Instead, it simply holds back what once came naturally. Silence takes over bit by bit. Doctors used an ice pick to change how people acted. They said it was a step forward. Number 4. The sleep deprivation spiral. Staying awake for nights on end, what if it wasn't your choice? Someone else decides when rest happens. Bright lights stay burning. Sounds never stop piling up. Same questions come around again. Thinking begins to blur at the corners. The world feels less solid than before. One night without sleep can already twist how thoughts flow. Things slip from mind like water through fingers. Strange images appear even when eyes stay open. Moods swing hard, beyond control. Push it further, any idea sounds reasonable if rest comes after. This happens because lack of sleep has long been used during questioning. Without marking the skin, it slowly breaks down mental strength. What happened next surprised nobody who'd been paying attention. Researchers ignored warnings, driving subjects beyond safe zones simply to test collapse thresholds. That edge? Much nearer than anyone wanted to admit. Here's what happens. Sleep does more than pause activity, it runs repairs. Miss too many nights, then neurons begin consuming their own tissue. Number 3. The radiation surprise. Picture this. They tell you it is a test about health. You agree. A paper appears, and you put your name on it, though the words blur. Later, behind closed doors, rays touch your body, no warning, no say, just silent observation by those watching from afar. In the middle of the 1900s, doctors tested radiation on people, patients, troops, inmates, sometimes kids. A few got shots filled with glowing substances. Meanwhile, others faced beams under the label of medical care or checkups. Not healing drove these acts. Instead, researchers wanted numbers on breakdown points inside bodies hit by intense rays. Most folks think physicians always act in their best interest. This belief carries more weight than it should. When trust steps in, doubt tends to back off. The white coat effect makes people less likely to push back. Important details missing from the conversation? Suddenly agreement doesn't hold much value. What hurt most wasn't the sickness or higher chance of disease. It was knowing they'd been misled. Years afterward, folks realized their pain didn't happen by mistake. Someone had planned it. Years passed before the cost showed up. Science picked certain bodies to use, treating them like practice tools. Number 2. The perfect child experiment. Picture this. Someone says your child is involved in a new kind of research about how boys and girls grow. You believe them because they seem sure of themselves. Papers full of lines and numbers sit on their desk. Still, doubt creeps in. What if it isn't right? A wrong move at birth set everything off. A surgery meant to help went badly, leaving a family with few options. Experts then pushed the idea that a person could be taught how to live as any gender. So they said the boy should become a girl. Daily life brought strict rules about acting feminine. Doctors looked too closely, too often, under cold scrutiny. Pressure built steadily, never easing up. What started in error spiraled through pain and confusion. Who you become starts young. Not empty, but shaped already, like soft concrete. Force it wrongly, leave marks that stay forever. It didn't work. That idea fell apart completely. Damage stayed behind, fixed and unchanging. Over time, David turned away from the role he was given, yet what hurt him inside remained. What hits hardest? Science reshaping who people are, rather than seeing them clearly. That shift breaks something deep inside. Number 1. The Hypothermia Countdown. Frozen water grips you, every muscle locked tight. Doctors watch, writing things down without hurry. Breathing comes in sharp stops. Seconds feel longer than they should. Not a test of endurance, just science at work. Pretend it was science. Freezing people until they stopped moving. Some lasted longer than others in icy water tanks. A few woke up afterward but never felt warm again. Running these tests without asking anyone. Guards watched closely so nobody slipped away. Bodies gave out one after another under thin winter clothes. What remained looked alive yet broken. Far from flawed research, this stood as torment dressed in spreadsheets. What we see here might unsettle. When folks lose their human standing, reasoning bends. Call someone inferior, suddenly right and wrong blur. Morality shifts if the label sticks. At its worst, this kind of testing crosses every line, showing where blind pursuit of answers leads when human cost is ignored. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.